Dark Lady.
Yes?
The Horde YouTuber Skull Shorties is talking about you in his videos again.
What is this YouTube you speak about?
We're allowed to break the fourth wall in this episode, Dark Lady.
Oh, well, alright then.
Yeah, we're not really consistent in that kind of stuff.
You were saying this Horde YouTuber, Skull, whatever, is speaking about me and so on?
Ah, yes, he's speaking controversy about you, my Dark Lady.
Usually, I wouldn't care about what some small and declining channel has to say about me. But, given that many of the Horde is already at odds about me, we must put an end to this short skullsies.
It's, Skull Shorties, my Dark Lady.
Whatever. Prepare my Zeppelin, we've a voice that needs to be stopped.
It shall be done.
Greetings and salutations, everyone. And oh god, please do not hit that dislike button and just hear me out on this one. Alright? Alright. Ease down, partner, on that dislike button and just watch this whole video with me. Okay? Okay. So starting things off in this video, we're going to go ahead and talk about our favorite or least favorite undead, Sylvanas Windrunner, who's blown up with controversy over the years, and especially in Battle for Azeroth. Now I know many people are going to jump to conclusions and dislike this video before even giving it a chance, but I remind you that I am both a fan of Sylvanas' character and the Horde. I'm just trying to get my points across. Alright? Alright.
Get on with it! Yes, get on with it!
But before we get into that, as always, let's first cover what we know about her before we get into the juicy stuff. The basic rundown of Sylvanas is... No, actually, I'll have this clip explain it for me.
I have not always been the Banshee Queen, and my people have not always been the Forsaken. Long ago, this land comprised the northern kingdoms of Lordaeron, ruled by King Terenas Menethil. Terenas had a son named Arthas. Arthas. Even saying his name makes my body quiver in rage. This man-child, Arthas, took for himself a cursed blade known as Frostmourne. Through Frostmourne, Arthas killed his own father and raised this land along with every living creature in it. My own death came at the hands of Arthas, when he and his armies sacked my homeland, Quel'Thalas, and murdered my people. In his vast cruelty, Arthas severed my spirit from my body and raised me as a banshee to serve in his Scourge army. A similar fate befell all that would die to the Scourge war machine. In death, they were reborn as mindless undead, but Arthas was not invincible. With each passing day, his power waned, his grip over the will of the damned loosening. It was when Arthas was at his weakest that I struck. And though the hour of his atonement had come, the worm managed to escape his fate, returning to the frozen wastes of Northrend. With Arthas gone, so too was the control he held over the undead masses of Lordaeron. After recovering my body, I freed the remaining Scourge that were left behind. From the cruelty and mercilessness of Arthas, the man who would be Lich King, the Forsaken, were born. Our goal, our sole purpose, was to destroy the Lich King. We threw our lot in with the Horde. and begin our journey towards redemption. Now, the Lich King is dead, and we have returned. The people who called this land their home in life do so in death as well. But the Alliance does not recognize our rights. They claim this land as their own, while attempting to invalidate the claims of the founders of this kingdom. I will never allow it. Never! Lordaeron belongs to the Forsaken. Always and forever.
Thank you, Sylvanas, for that basic rundown of yourself.
You're welcome.
Ah! Oh god, she's here.
My apologies.
We appear to have a visitor, folks, but I've safely boarded up the studio from her. Let's just continue now with the video, shall we? I'm just gonna hurry along then. Continuing the story of Sylvanas with the details that were missed was that when the Lich King had been killed, Sylvanas no longer had a purpose, and ended her own life atop the Citadel, and specifically atop some Serenite. However, she did not meet her full end, and instead was brought back to life by her Valkyr. As what awaited all Forsaken, including Sylvanas, was hell, and a hell that nobody would want to face, especially her. Though these angelic beings were once sworn to the Lich King, Sylvanas found purpose and a new way to bring forth the Forsaken people, and a way for her to avoid death entirely. Another thing important to note is that during the war against the Lich King, a new weapon created by the Forsaken was used on the Scourge, and the Alliance, and the Horde. This would be known as the Plague, and a moment that would shake the world forever. This made things a lot more difficult for Sylvanas, and added to the controversy I had already mentioned. Already were the Forsaken viewed as monstrous undead who should be buried in the ground, but now they were throwing chemicals that were so terrifying and inexcusable that even Garrosh refused to use them. Garrosh! Ugh. Though the fault was not solely on Sylvanas, but in actuality it was on the Dreadlord that Sylvanas had originally spared when she had laid claim to the Plaguelands, or rather, Lordaeron. It was from a coup that was staged by Wyrmrest and lead apothecary Putris, that was meant to end Sylvanas' reign in the Undercity, and possibly even summon the very Lord of the Burning Legion, Sargeras. However, the Alliance took out Putris in vengeance of Bolvar's loss, although they didn't know of his actual fate, and the Horde took care of Wyrmrest, stopping their plans. However, Sylvanas and her Forsaken were never truly forgiven or forgotten for their actions at the Wrathgate. Kor'kron would be stationed within the Undercity to watch over her, though they were later killed once the rebellion against Garrosh had taken place. In the events after Wrath of the Lich King during the Cataclysm, Sylvanas expressed her love for the use of both the Plague and her angelic beings, the Valkyr, all across the Eastern Kingdoms. This was most notably in Silverpine, Gilneas, Hillsbrad Foothills, Western Plaguelands, and Tirisfal. What's important to note is that Garrosh Hellscream kept very close eyes on the Banshee Queen, and ensured that she would not go overboard with her Valkyr or her Plague. Among one of my favorite questions and interactions between these two was in Silverpine, which I shall play for you all here.
Ah, speak of the devil.
This better be important, Sylvanas. You know how I detest this place and its foul stench. Why have you called for me? And more importantly, what are those Scourge fiends doing here?
War Chief, so glad you could make it. With the death of the Lich King, many of the more intelligent Scourge became unemployed. Those fiends, as you so delicately put it, are called Valkyr. They are under my command now. And they are part of the reason that I asked to see you.
Get on with it, Sylvanas!
Very well, War Chief. I have solved the plight of the Forsaken. As a race, we Forsaken are unable to procreate. With the aid of the Valkyr, We are now able to take the corpses of the fallen and create new Forsaken. Agatha, show the war chief.
Done here, Sylvanas. It goes against the laws of nature. Disgusting is the only word I have to describe it.
War Chief, without these new Forsaken, my people would die out. Our hold upon Gilneas and Northern Lordaeron would crumble.
Have you given any thought to what this means, Sylvanas? What difference is there between you and the Lich King now?
Isn't it obvious, War Chief? I serve the Horde.
Watch your clever mouth, bitch. Chromash, you stay behind and make sure the Banshee Queen is well guarded. I will be expecting a full report when next we meet. Remember, Sylvanas, eventually we all have to stand before our Maker and face judgment. Your day may come sooner than others.
You can understand a little bit now where I and many people are coming from. When we say that while Sylvanas can be seen as a villain, she can also be seen as someone simply trying to keep over the lands that her undead people call home in both life and in death. What's also important is that Sylvanas is forsaken, and with that comes a lack of emotions, so in certain events or cases, she will feel nothing. However, I would have to agree the use of the plague in any situation is always portrayed as bad, and never really a positive.
Would you like to try a sample of our new plague?
I'll have to pass on that, but you keep going with the arrow thing you've got going on.
I will make no guarantees.
Alright, thank you. Anyways, with Garrosh's defeat and imprisonment during Mr. Pandaria and after the Siege of Orgrimmar, the Banshee Queen would not stop and allow a jury system to allow the fate of the war chief, whom she greatly despised. Together, along with her sister Verisa, the two plotted to poison Garrosh and have him die as a guarantee. However, things didn't go according to plan, and Garrosh didn't get his poison, and made Warlords of Draenor possible. Yeah, so we have Verisa, Anduin, and Varian to thank for that expansion. Thrall was willing to smash Gary's head in with the Doomhammer, and Varian stopped it. Verisa was to bring some poisoned food to Garrosh, and he'd die, but bailed for her kitties. And Anduin was given the choice to let Garrosh eat poison and die. And of course, he chose the one where Garrosh didn't die. Albeit granted, we get a cool allied race out of it now, and an old Gromash out of it too. So I guess both a thank you and eat a croissant is in order for these three. Now in Warlords of Draenor, of course, Sylvanas hardly reared her face to such a threat. You know, despite the fact that Ner'zhul was alive and well in this timeline and had the potential to become another Lich King. Though, I guess Sylvanas even knew the poor outcome that was Warlords of Draenor before we even did.
It made it easier to recruit them, as I never did anything bad towards them.
Oh, I see. I guess a thank you is in order for that, then.
It was also an expansion about time-traveling orc clans. I'll have to pass on that.
I really can't blame you. Anyways, in Legion, Sylvanas took a turn for the spotlight and was there on the Broken Shore, alongside Thrall, Vol'jin, the current warchief, Bane, and the rest of the Horde. We saw Sylvanas and Varian willingly fight side by side against the demons upon their arrival on the Broken Shore, but the fight with the Legion was one that was already lost. The Horde would be overwhelmed once they took the high ground, and in its result would be loss of Vol'jin to an ambushing Felguard. Vol'jin, in his waning moments of consciousness, would ask Sylvanas to not let the Horde die this day, and with reluctance, the Banshee Queen called down her Valkyr to get the Horde out of there. Meanwhile, the Alliance believed that this was a signal to have the Horde retreat and leave the Alliance to die, resulting with Varian sacrificing his own life to ensure the Alliance survivors got away safely. This is one of the few moments that Sylvanas does something selfless. Well, selfless for the Horde, not so much for the Alliance. While I don't think any of these Valkyr she summoned were among the higher ones that were capable of bringing her back to life, of which there are currently speculated to be 3 remaining, though that's possibly not true, we don't really know right now. This is still a feat on its own to have her Valkyr out in the open like this, while there are demons all around just to save members of the Horde and ensure that it had a future. Despite this deed, it was viewed differently by the Alliance as borderline traitorism. Yes, that's a word.
Griff, that's borderline traitorism. I think the word you're looking for is treason, sir.
They didn't know the Horde's reasoning for retreat, and nobody would be willing to talk as to why they retreated, especially after the events in Stormheim. But Vol'jin specifically viewed this deed enough of a reason, plus the Loa and possible Old Gods, whispering in his ear to turn the title of War Chief over to Sylvanas as his last act as War Chief, before succumbing to the poison and becoming a future Loa, possibly. I'm still dead set on that theory, and you know I'm going to talk about it when it happens.
Ahem.
Oh, right, this is a video about you. Sorry. So if Sylvanas named as War Chief of the Horde, she would swear to the Horde that they would avenge Vol'jin, and end this Legion threat. But unfortunately, the only thing Sylvanas did worthy to note in Legion expansion was her involvement in Stormheim. And in Stormheim, she showed her usual tendencies, except now there was no Vol'jin, Thrall, or Garrosh to stop her, as she was the War Chief and the 3 of them were either inactive or dead. It was her quest, which for the most part, she tried to do alone with her Forsaken forces, to find a Yer, who was capable of sending Valkyr for her, which would provide her enough Valkyr to ensure life was continued for her and the Forsaken. What's worthy to note is that she could make her Forsaken more alive-like with the Valkyr, but with the cost of the Forsaken's relative. This, however, might be more a unique thing only intended for Sylvanas' Chosen. You can find out more of the detailed process from the free WoW story Dark Mirror, where Nathanos got his new look from. Could be a hint for an allied race that the Forsaken could bring in, though I'm not sure if I'd call them a race per se, maybe more of a customization look like the Straightback Orcs.
It really is a nice look, isn't it? But that fool, Gen, made it far more difficult for me.
I was getting to that, so as our esteemed guest said, Sylvanas was close to achieving her goal thanks to a deal she made with Halia, which to this day we still don't know what it was, but I'd wager it would have to be something with killing Odin or something. But Gen Greymane sprung in for vengeance of Gilneas, his son, and the loss of Varian.
Treacherous banshee! You know not what you are meddling with!
Submit. The Valkyr are mine.
Sylvanas, your quest for immortality has left you vulnerable. I will have my vengeance! For Varian! For Gilneas! For my son!
The controversy is very strong with this, as Sylvanas was indeed trying to gain more Valkyr for her people and herself. One cannot truly blame her for not wanting to go down to the same place that Arthas is currently, and once more, it's a fate that supposedly awaits all Forsaken, too. But not all Forsaken are actually for their life of eternity as undead abominations. This mindset is most found commonly with the Desolate Council, who we'll get to shortly. Sylvanas was going to enslave the Valkyr to do her bidding, and unlike her current ones, these ones weren't former agents of the Lich King who made a pact with Sylvanas willingly. These gals were all servants of the Prime Designate, Odin. Now, while the whole situation with Odin is a mess on its own that we'll get to cover at some point, it's definitely not something I can say so positively about Sylvanas, as she was trying to enslave a race. Granted, it was for her people, but it was also mostly for herself.
The Valkyr are an important part of the Forsaken. How else was I supposed to obtain more? Ask Odin nicely. Or should I go to Bolvar instead as he slowly loses himself to the helm of domination?
Given the situation, couldn't you have asked Talia to give you more Valkyr? That was more her duty after all.
Making deals with her isn't exactly easy. Plus, she's already been killed.
Can you tell us what the deal was then? Exactly? Maybe? Please?
No.
Well, darn. I guess we'll find out eventually, but moving on. Now, we're mostly caught up to speed in regards to Sylvanas' story in the present. Despite the defeat of the Burning Legion and the imprisonment of Sargeras, there remains several loose ends still to deal with. When Sargeras was being imprisoned by the Pantheon, he summoned a great and powerful sword and plunged it into Sylvanas, which is currently speculated to be the continent's location of Azeroth's heart, causing a large amount of Azeroth's blood to be brought out. This substance of Azeroth could spark new conflicts between the Alliance and the Horde. Even after Sargeras was defeated, he still found a way to keep the denizens of Azeroth at odds with one another. Though, let's be honest, it's not that hard to do that. Conflict would arise, and Sylvanas would be the one to ignite it. Or, well, at least that's what it's posed to be currently. Not that it's surprising that she would, given that it's her nature of things, but I'm not ruling out Old Gods or Rajara shenanigans quite yet. With this knowledge of Azerite and how the Alliance themselves wanted it too, the Horde decided to take the lands of Kalimdor for themselves, along with all of the Azerite, starting off by attacking Teldrassil and possibly burning it down. I still have my suspicions that something else started the fire, but I'm not ruling out that the Horde caused it. This of course leads to the entire plot of Battle for Azeroth, where the Alliance and Horde are at odds with one another, and Sylvanas is not afraid to release the plague on her foes. However, Sylvanas, in a current Datamine cinematic in Battle for Lordaeron, she releases the plague on both the Alliance and the Horde, killing them and raising them as skeletons. Do you want to talk about that?
They were already dying, and the plague was also a last resort. It gave the Horde enough time to escape along with the civilians of the Undercity. It wasn't as if the Alliance was going to spare us all. They were here for their tree burning to the ground.
Oh, well, that actually makes more sense. Still not the best of choices, but at least I have a better understanding. There's also regards to the Desolate Council, that I've mentioned countless times in other videos, and here, which are basically a group of Forsaken who took the leadership of the Undercity while Sylvanas was away, and are against many of the actions Sylvanas has taken, especially the Stormhind incident. It's hard to say exactly where they get involved. I assume they were agents of the Lich King or Twilight's Hammer, perhaps even some new faction we'd be facing. But, they may just be Forsaken who are just against Sylvanas, and nothing more. But so far they're absent in Battle for Azeroth, which makes me wonder if Sylvanas had killed them for speaking out against her, before the Battle for Lordaeron even occurs. I'm still waiting for the book Before the Storm to get out, before I get all my details figured out, but given the current circumstances found on the Alpha, it's not looking good for Sylvanas. There's also the whole situation with Saurfang in Battle for Lordaeron, which she basically threatens and insults him for his beliefs in honor and glory, which really just pushes him away from her Horde and had him attempt at dying honorably against the forces of the Alliance, only to be imprisoned within the stockades. I would say that Sylvanas was trying her own way of goading him out of seeking his honorable death, but she just worded it terribly, and it caused Varrock to even be more willing to take that chance at death. Though, in the end, he still didn't get his wish. Either way, she lost Varrock as one of her supporters, which I do think will bite her in the future, big time. She also apparently has the Horde storm an entire village in Stormsong Valley. Get it, Storm? Haha. And they drop bombs on it and kill innocents and even children. That's basically where the story of Sylvanas stops, aside from her allied race interactions and the missing pieces found in Before the Storm. But what am I getting at here exactly? Basically, we've got a war chief who doesn't care for honor, who recklessly uses the plague, wants to obtain immortality and avoid hell, and is trying to continue a people who cannot be produced by normal means. Sylvanas will do whatever it takes to win a war, even if that means raising people back from death itself. She basically is on the path of another Lich King, another Garrosh, and that in itself is not good. Duh. Now, the only difference between her and Garrosh is that she still cares for the survival of the other races, and not just her own. And the only difference between her and the Lich King is, well, the same as it was in Cataclysm. She serves the Horde. The moment that either of these two things changes is the moment that Sylvanas ascends Warchief gone rogue status. With the path and road that Sylvanas currently is on, it's extremely difficult to see a path where she doesn't become a villain, especially with how she's shaping the Horde. It feels like the rebellion is about to happen all over again, just like it did in Mist of Pandaria. But this time, it's Varrock Sarfang who incites it, rather than Vol'jin. I mean, as much as I want a new war chief, I've said it enough how tired I am of playing war chief roulette. But despite the path she is walking, I will continue to hope that there is redemption, that there is a path where she renounces the things that make me worry. If Sylvanas becomes the next villain, I won't be surprised, but if she becomes something else entirely, that'll surprise me. Have someone like Thrall, who I mentioned earlier, put her in her place, and can stop her before she continues down this path. Thrall has already seen Garrosh go down this route. It would surprise me if Thrall would be shocked that Sylvanas would go down the same route. Stop it in its tracks before it happens. Have him or someone revoke that title of War Chief and have her think about what she's done. Just anything at this point. I don't want some 180 character turn shift where Sylvanas randomly goes, I'm doing bad stuff? I better stop. It's in Sylvanas' character to do this kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong. But now it's without its barrier. Now it's fully unleashed. There's nothing to cap it, nothing to stop it. She is the war chief. Who's gonna really have her say anything? If she has advisors, maybe, but we haven't really seen that in Battle for Azeroth, unfortunately. Or at the very least, have it be equal. Have Gen or Jaina, or one of the Alliance leaders, do something just as messed up as she is doing. Attack a peaceful Horde village. Drop a mana bomb. Use the power of Lei Shen that Jaina took. Just do something that would make it more even ground in this war. There's a reason that Blizzard chose Sylvanas, Thrall, and Vol'jin as the heroes of the Horde for Battle for Azeroth, and I believe there will be some serious character development for all three of these characters. The Horde has lost enough war chiefs and leaders. Let's not continue that trend, alright Blizzard? But it's still the alpha, and we've still got both the book and the expansion itself to come out. Until then, we'll not know the full story of Sylvanas. Let's hope I'm right about some things, I'm wrong about others. One thing of important note is that Christy Golden's Twitter post still takes into effect here. Not everything on the alpha or beta or the broadcast text should be taken too seriously. I don't know why Blizzard wants to trick us, but it could just be that they want to simply surprise us with their actual intentions. There have been in many cases in where a certain character in alpha said or looks different than how they do in live. Originally in Warlords of Draenor, Kargath in the beta/alpha was supposed to survive his raid encounter and escape with Jogal, Or, more recently, there was the Thalristal line about burning Ashenvale. There was also the whole dealio with the Jade Forest, and its entire story got a complete revamp. Well, almost. Alpha and Beta are called that for a reason, but I wouldn't take them out of consideration either, considering Battle for Azeroth is coming out in like 3 to 4 months from now. I don't think they're going to make too big of changes. But there's still plenty of time for Blizzard to show another side of Sylvanas. I mean, hell, we just might be jumping to conclusions here. There's plenty of other videos that I've seen that point out her methods in a much more positive light, and I would highly advise you check them out. Heck, I'll throw one of the videos in the description for you all that I've recently seen. It's a good look, it's a good check. I'd watch it. I'm just throwing out my concerns for the way that she is going, as she definitely also has the potential here to be among the most successful and greatest war chiefs with her current route, just as much as she can become the Lich King 2.0. Well, Sylvanas, you've been awfully quiet and the video's almost over. You gonna break in and kill me or something?
Oh, that. Yes. Sorry, I was just having Gazlo work with the machinery you have here.
Machinery? Wait, what did you have him do exactly?
I found something better to do than kill you or stop you from uploading this video. I've instead made it harder for your next video to be uploaded.
You didn't. You monster. You truly are evil.
Sure. Okay. I've got war chief duties to perform. Can't believe Belmont wasted my time for this.
This is why I like Maiev more. If you'd like to hear more from me, be sure to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, DeviantArt, and Twitch. We'll be sure to do stuff there eventually. Thanks again to the voice actress here. I can't really pronounce her name too well, but she's right around here, for voicing Sylvanas once again. You know what cheers me up though? A big bowl of patrons. That's right, Skull Shorty's moving on to the orange and white colors of online payment. This isn't mandatory or anything, but it does help this little fella out in the real world. Our first ever Patreon is Tika. Thank you, Tika, for your support. You can check out the Patreon information in the description below. For $10, you can get your very own character made by yours truly from WoWModelViewer. For $15, you can get your very own character by yours truly and a shout out at the end of the video, like Tika did here. $30, you can get both of those things and make a cameo in one of these videos as a voice, just a character in the background. We'll work out the details. Any amount is appreciated. Heck, a like on this video makes my day. So sign up, or don't. I'm just happy to have a lovely community like you guys. Thanks for watching. I'm Skull Shorties, and I'll see you all soonish. See ya!